What's going on, mountain bikers and racing fans? This is Jason Schroeder. We're back for round 3 of the 2024 UCI World Cup downhill season this weekend in Leogang, Austria, with a pre-race discussion as part of our Vital MTB Downhill Fantasy. Each round, we're breaking down which racer you should keep an eye on going into the weekend, who's been fast in years past, and try to give you some insight to help make the best fantasy picks. If you've managed to miss the fact that we're doing fantasy the past 2 rounds, make sure to play this weekend. All you have to do is create a Vital account, which is free. And then at the top is a fantasy header that provides all the details on how to play. Each round, you create a new team of riders. You must have a rider from each of all 4 categories. And then the top 5 players will win prizes from SRAM Rock Shocks, FSA, Maxxis, and Trolley Designs. There's also going to be a top 5 overall prize at the end of the season for players with the highest overall points. Again, I'm joined by John Hall from Intense Cycles, well known as AG's mechanic over the years and Vital contributing editor, co-host of our B Practice podcast, Tanner Stevens. What's going on, dudes?
What's up, everybody?
All right, we're here. We're live.
We're doing it.
We're doing it big.
We're doing it more live than we have been because it's the Monday before race weekend.
Yeah.
Usually we do it the week before. So we're in it.
We're in it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
get real saucy and do it on like Wednesday.
Really push my editing
Yeah.
abilities.
Yeah.
That's good. It we had a week, 2 weeks off, but there was a Crankworks in between,
Yep.
Hardline as well. It feels like we didn't have racing because it wasn't World Cups, but then at the same time there was quite a bit of racing. So yeah, I know. Yeah, we were talking before we started recording. It's summer. It's busy. Things are happening.
Yep. We're in the swing of it now.
We're already
But
we got John racing this weekend.
yeah,
Yeah.
John's lining back up.
Yeah. So are you guys. So we'll see everybody at the Southwest Downhill Series, Snow Valley Round 1. Jason Schroeder and Tanner Stevens come by. Autographs from 6 to 9 only. So come by.
In the morning or at night?
Morning. We're up early.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be out there, but shout out to our buddy Stephen Walton, who has been organizing that. If you are in Southern California or really in the U.S. in general, you should check it out because it's a new series supporting U.S. downhill racing. And it looks like it's going to be good. I've seen everything he's planning. He's putting the effort in.
It's going to be awesome, dude. He's planning everything out. And it's, in my mind, like everything's going as planned in terms of like U.S. downhill in general, with the Monster Energy Pro Downhill Series being like the top level national racing. It has that recognition and that level to it. And then there are all the regional series that are popping up. Nico's Downhill Southeast, Stevens Southwest Downhill. There's the Pacific Northwest and the Rocky Series and all these, local regional series that then you can gather points for eventually, and then like begin to qualify and move up to a national level. It's like a great feeder program for people who can't travel to the East Coast back and forth 5 times a year. So pretty cool. I love it. So we're going to support that.
Yeah, it's sick. I feel like during all of our time around downhill racing in the U.S., it's something we've always talked about, is how cool it'd be to have the feeder series regionally that feeds national, that eventually feeds World Cup. So yeah,
100%.
we're getting there.
It's going that direction, right? We can, if we're being honest, in terms of racing World Cups, like that's going to be the most elite level. And it always has been, not saying that it hasn't been, but it's going to be that like big teams only, big budgets, like small privateers. It's going to be harder and harder for small teams and privateers to make as many rounds as they're attempting to do in the future. And the cost of travel and everything is just going to be unsustainable at the World Cup level for small teams and privateers. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but if we're trying to bolster a national series or a national federation, US, France, like Europe, anywhere in Europe, wherever, it's going to bolster everyone's national series because people are going to want to race and need to race. But if they can't afford to go to the World Cups, they're going to start going to their national level World Cups. And if they don't have one, somebody's going to come through the woodworks and make one like Clay Harper has for the U.S. And so I think a lot more we're going to start seeing in the next probably 2 years, I would guess, a lot more races in the U.S. with a higher attendance from like high level athletes that probably either used to race World Cups or were on that brink, and they're trying to get that recognition from the teams that are there that can be called up to go race World Cups. So I think you'll always be able to drop in on a World Cup if you have enough, if you have the UCI points and stuff like that to go kind of prove your worth. But I think a lot more focus is going to be on national level downhill racing and using that as a stepping stone to get to the World Cups. And like I said, it's a tough pill to swallow for some people, I think, going that had that opportunity or raced on the smaller teams of the World Cup and kind of having to step down to a national series. But if it's good and it bolsters that's more people racing, that's more bike sales. It's like, it's more race series. It's better for everybody, really. It's kind of the rising tide floats all boats mentality of like more race series, more regional series, a bigger national series. Like, so I think it's great to have all this stuff happening.
100%. I totally agree. Yeah. You got to start at the bottom or the base or whatever you want to call it, because that's where everybody starts riding as well. It's hard to look at a World Cup and aspire without seeing how to do that necessarily. So, well,
and it's not like it's not worth it either. Like we were just talking before we started, I forget Clay's prize structure, but I think it's $3,000 to win a U.S. national now. So it's like, it's worth it to go there. If you're not like, you want to go win $3,000 at a U.S. national, or do you want to go get 142nd place at Val di Sole? Like,
yeah, I'll take the 142nd for me, but
yeah. And even and I just keep talking about the Southwest Downhill Series because that's going to be my local or regional series that Steve Walton's putting on. But and sorry if I'm wrong, but it's like $1,500 to $1,700 to go win that as well. And that's just like a little regional race. Like, he's putting some money up saying, come win. Like, come
that's enough for me to consider coming out of retirement for.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That more than pays for the gas to drive to the race and the hotel. So
good point.
Yeah, come on out, dude. Try to win some money. Put your money where your mouth is. Me, I'm racing Cat 1. There's no money on the line for me. Old bragging rights.
That's worth something.
Just trying to crack the top 10 over here and have some fun.
I mean, you got people from factory teams coming in. You've got you from IFR, and then you're gonna have Santa Cruz factory, and
let's just say intense. Well, there's no factory racing behind my name.
What? I feel like you are a portion of what makes intense factory racing.
Well, yeah, I guess technically I am part of the factory, aren't I?
It's not much of a factory operation if you don't have factory world-class mechanics at some point a part of it,
It's like I am a low level riding abilities on like factory prototype race bikes.
I feel like I've been there at points.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well, yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Support
Yeah.
your local race series, regardless of where you live. Yeah, if you're in SoCal, get out to Snow Valley this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All righty. Round 3 this weekend. Leogang Classic World Cup racetrack on the circuit, and a track that's always delivered pretty dramatic racing over the years. A lot of stories shaping up this season in each class that I'm excited to see continue to play out this weekend. And I want to start this out with the question for you, John, because you've mentioned in previous podcasts that Leogang's always been a favorite track of yours. You want to elaborate just more on why it's such a cool and good World Cup venue?
I mean, selfishly, from a mechanic standpoint, it's my favorite. The venue and the pits are all right there in the lower parking lot. From the pit to the lift line, it's like a 2-minute, like 1 minute pedal, even like it's a 5-minute walk tops, I think, and that's getting through the crowds and waiting to go up the escalator to the gondola station. And so it's just the turnaround time for the runs and the riders and the mechanics is really easy for those that are pitted down in that parking lot. The runs are pretty quick, so you just get a lot of time in on track. Like, it's easy to do your practice runs. It always goes fairly smooth. even if there's an issue, like it's pretty expedited. You can get back down to your pit and change a wheel or change a flat like pretty quickly, or make a change pretty quickly. It's not like Andorra the last couple of years where you're 3.5 miles from your pit and are working out of the back of a minivan, even though you paid for a giant pit space like 4 miles away. And so from a logistics and a mechanic standpoint, it's always been my favorite. The views, the area, the agriculture, like, dude, it's so awesome there. And the food is good. When it comes to the track, also selfishly, Gwinny's always done historically pretty well at Leogang. So just good, happy memories there. The hotel staff that we go to, or the hotel that we go to, has the same staff. Like every single year, like they pay their people well. It's like the same waiter that we sit at the same table, like feels like family. It feels like you're going to visit somebody that you know for us. And so it's always just really fun from that aspect. But from the track, yeah, we always just had really good results there. Always went fast. It was still challenging, obviously, but quite enjoyed the changes that they would make and things like that. So when they took out the lower woods, was that 17 or 18? Like quite a while, like the OG lower woods.
Mm-hmm.
That was a bummer. Like that was an area where Gwinny was really good and he knew it, and always had an advantage through that section, could ride it really fast. So when we swapped it out, I was like, dang it. Like it was so good. And then that new lower wood section, the first year we did it, it was so soft. That was probably the worst. Like I was so upset at Leogang. I was not a fan that year. It was so soft and it rained so much, and like people could barely get down the track. And that new lower wood section has like this like triple drop section where like it's not a big deal for these guys. Like you float around this kind of left-hander and just pull and like float down, but you stand there and watch, and it's a hectic pull, but kind of just normal for those guys. But in the rain and the wet, it can be high consequence area. So, and you're literally going into like a 10-inch catch rut that has a log at the top of it. And so it's like sometimes that hole develops under a log from like so many people catching there. So then it becomes like I think last year I stood there and was just reporting to the riders like if it was safe to slap into that thing or not, or am I going to catch a pedal? And I was like, yeah, right now you can still hammer it, but like pretty soon, like we're going to be hitting bottom brackets and stuff. So, but yeah, I just love that venue. It's so cool. It's kind of the whole conglomerate of it. It's the location, it's the people, it's the food, it's the accommodations, it's the pits. Like, even when it rains, like it's still good vibes.
Yeah. Are you talking about the section that Charlie Harrison fell and broke his arm in? Is that where he fell?
I feel like he was higher up.
So
different.
He was just above that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he broke, what did he broke something else in there too next year. So
yeah. Charlie doesn't like Leogang.
Yeah, Charlie had a tough go.
Yeah.
That track for some people can be not awesome history at all. Like we've seen like Aaron is somebody who's done really well over the years historically. There's a few names that kind of rise to the top that are just so good there. And then there's a lot of people that have had bad injuries for a track that maybe can look a little straightforward on camera sometimes. Like for years, it was, oh, it's so bike parky. Oh, it's so bike parky. And I remember the first year I went there, I was like, this track is really hard. Like I thought it was really difficult. And I actually fell and broke my hand and didn't get to race. So I don't have much time on the track itself. And that was before the new bottom bit. But I mean, Tanner, what's your thought on, is it bike parky?
Not anymore, at least.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
just because it's at a bike park doesn't mean it's bike parky. And I think that's where people begin to like throw that term around. And they see the runs, because you do step out onto like some of the bike park runs, like the motorway with the jumps and stuff like that. But it's like those are just connector sections. Like it's hectic, dude.
Yeah, it's cool how they route it, because the top section doesn't use any of the trails really. It kind of just like cuts through the hillside that's been clear cut for the ski run, and then there's always like sick ruts that develop, and it's pretty much like an outdoor track up top, and it's real steep as well. And then it goes into the stumps, and the stumps are sketchy, especially when it rains.
Yep.
Those get real greasy. And then that motorway as well is what people don't get is how gnarly that motorway is, because you're going like 10 miles an hour too fast for every jump at least.
Yeah.
And you're like going there, you're going so deep on everything. And then you hit this wall ride and go straight into woods. And now it's just one wall ride, but it was two before. So there was like a checkup before, but now it's just one wall ride and then a flat turn. And then straight exposure change straight into the woods.
That turn too doesn't get enough respect. Like after coming out of that left-hand wall ride, and you jump across and it's just a grass flat turn that goes into the new wood section. And when it rains, because it will, that gets so soft and boggy that it's like, you want to talk about an outdoor national, like there's like 20 ruts going across that thing. And you're coming in so fast, like you better friggin' make sure you're picking the right one. And if it doesn't rain and it's dry, it's like this gravel under grass, like stuff. So it gets like so slippery that you can just fade out like way too wide. And it kind of funnels in where you need to enter the woods. And there's like this gap that you need to pull over a stump. And if you don't time that right, like I think I watched 2 kids break their wrist there last year. Just trying to do the kind of mandatory pull. Like you cannot do it, but you're not going to win.
It is one of those tracks that when you do fall, you fall real hard.
And it's hard packed, high concept.
Yeah, I crashed there in my qualifying run in 2017, and I went flying into a catch net, and I was like going through the air about 10 feet above the ground in a net, and just like rolled out of the net, and I was like, dude, this is crazy. I'm still good.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the coolest things about that track is the catch nets.
And your bike's like 60 feet away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So no, it's not a track to downplay. Like yes, you cross a couple of the bike park sections, you go through a couple of the tunnels, the motorway, but like Tanner was saying, you're going so fast on that motorway that they're like 50, 60-ish foot jumps that they're like having to scrub because you'll just land at the bottom of them if you don't, which is cool. I love that factor. I love the high pace and the speed through there. So it'll deliver, dude. It does every year.
Yeah, definitely. And weather is such a factor there for every bit of the track. Like Tanner's mentioning, the upper bit is so open and exposed that it ruts in and bogs out, and it's so slippery. Like the roots and any rocks there are really slick from what I remember. Like they get shiny, and then dirt gets kind of pulled easily at that track. Like it's type of mud that sort of sticks and then pulls its way down the hillside. But then it also gets dry like really fast. Like that, I feel like every year it's ever rained there's been a few years where it's been wet for finals, but generally it'll be like wet in a practice day. Everybody like kind of freaks out about one section, and by the time you race it, it's literally dusty. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that stump section up above before you enter the motorway is a sneaky little section too. It's like you come out of the tunnel and then down like this rock face and kind of through rock or stump section. Pretty standard through there. It'll get pretty the race line will develop eventually. Couple little gaps to a lily pad section in there that are mandatory, that are difficult to pull. But the section right afterwards where you come down and kind of cross a creek, and then the last little rough section before you dump out onto the motorway, that section I stood at last year, and it was carnage because there was 2 or 3 entrances. Like it's a left-hander entering the section, and there was like 3 options, kind of a left, a high right, and a middle. And they were all, I mean, you want to talk about me and about 50 other coaches and line spotters all standing there, timing it, videoing it, doing overlays, like trying to figure out what was faster. And it was such a crapshoot. So but if you didn't do it right, it was one of those sections where it's almost like it doesn't matter what line you take, just make sure that you freaking nail it. Because if you don't, you're screwed. And then because it sets you up into that section for like two entry options, and you kind of have to choose. And you saw people like not miscalculate, but almost like not commit to one and be like, oh, and then you get rutted. And like you, to your point, where it's full of dust and ruts, and it doesn't matter if it's wet or if it's dusty, like it is slick, and it's a high consequence if you don't get it right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that has to be one of the most key sections of that track, because it feeds all your speed for that momentum. And even, when you're in a race run, you're building as you go down, and that section's important. And you can almost see people sometimes that it's like they put the pressure on to nail that section to carry the momentum in the motorway, and then they botch it a little bit, and then they're overcompensating on the motorway, and then they almost blow the whole motorway because of it. Because the motorway it used to be like a section to maybe recover a tad bit or like pause. Now it's like full intensity. Like the timing of everything is so precise with how perfectly you have to squash certain jumps to then, like, you can jump this one too far, it's okay. You got to like pump these rollers, and that section stresses me out more than a lot of sections, actually.
I think the rollers after the jumps are almost as important, because you're going so fast that you can mess up the timing of them. You can forget which ones you're doubling or tripling. It's almost like a little mini, like that little mini section at Sea Otter before like the triple step down.
Yeah.
There's like a couple little doubles. If you're going fast enough, you can pull, but like if you blank or forget where you're at for a second and you pull on the wrong one, or don't pull when you're supposed to in case one, like, it's not a high consequence, but all your speed is gone. Like, you're done.
Yeah, did Tebow do that famously one year? He doubled or tripled when he should have doubled or something crazy.
Yeah. But you're pretty gassed right there, right? And to have the clarity and the thought process to remember where you're at and which one to pull on sounds simple, but dude, when you're in that race brain, it's like common sense is out the window.
For sure. Yeah. I wanted to bring up Aaron's chainless run, but first, talking about just famous runs from Leogang, we had, because I put the effort into pulling all these up, so I'm going to say it, but we had Stevie Smith taking the World Cup overall in 2013 over G. Atherton.
Yep.
RIP Stevie Smith. That was an epic season. Everybody should go back and watch that race if they can. Reese Wilson winning worlds in the mud. Super epic and impressive. Tony Seagrave took her first win here in 2017. Just a track that provides kind of standout runs. I mean, last year with Valley and Kolb both winning kind of like on home soil was really cool to see. It's interesting how that happens with some tracks. I guess maybe it's just time going to them provides the history because you've gone there so many years. But with Aaron's chainless run, I've told the story a bunch, so I don't need you to rehash that all out. But him winning without a chain, I think, highlights how important carrying speed is on this track and the potential you have to just generate speed as you build your race run together. Was there anything crazy you guys tried over the years to like maximize that rolling speed for maybe the top 2/3 of the track?
No, nothing crazy for us, or what other people would consider crazy. At that time, we ran pretty, and this is more of a hindsight realization, we ran pretty high tire pressure historically early on. And I remember one year at Mont Saint Anne, Blinky saw my tire gauge when I was checking Aaron's before his race run. And I think it was like 32 PSI or 34, maybe even. And he looked at me and he literally said in pure Blinky fashion, he's like, "You got to be effing kidding me, right?" And I just looked at him. I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Are you messing with me? Is that?" He runs lower than that, right? He doesn't actually race with that. Like, you're waiting till I leave to put the right pressure in. And Aaron was on the warm-up bike, and they're pretty good buddies. And he just looked at him and said, "Nah, dude, like, I ain't flattened and I'm rolling fast." And he was like, "You're out of your mind. There's no way you can have any traction with that pressure." So crazy setup or unique setups, like, no, not what people would traditionally think in that case. But we did run like pretty historically high tire pressures, and that was to tire technology wasn't fantastic. It's come a long ways, I think. And so that was partly like, I don't want to ding my rim. And that's almost how he would determine his tire pressure rather than grip. It was like, if I hit my rim, I don't want to do that. So go up in pressure, please. Rather than like I'm missing grip here or there. We get that from suspension. So no, not really. It was just, but rolling speed was always the most important thing for Aaron, and generating speed maybe is a better way to word that. He's always been very good at pumping and finding speed. And so bikes that were good at that was where he really excelled. He really enjoyed riding bikes. In his mind, if he could, the rough stuff wouldn't matter, or how a bike worked in the rough stuff, as long as it was fast through it. He could hold on. He's like, I'll do the gym work. I'll get the strength and I'll hold on to it. I want that thing to be fast everywhere and like to generate speed. So when he puts energy into the bike, he wants acceleration. Where some bikes, like I'm sure if you've ridden enough, like you can push into them and they kind of just feel like boggy, or they don't like generate. You're trying to like really get them going. So not really. That incident played really well to his strengths. He snapped a chain and he goes, in his mind, he just looked down and said, all right, as long as it doesn't get caught in my wheel, there's not a whole lot of places where I need to put down like power and sprint here. It's all just carrying momentum and tucking. And so that's just the mentality that he immediately went into.
Do you think somebody could, or he could, him or somebody else could recreate that on the track this weekend, or is it too different now with the lower woods?
No, lower woods is fine. There's no section. You're still not having to like sprint or pull in there. That Red Bull like little river gap is in the wet is a really sketchy run in, where like you definitely have to put like a couple pedals in if it's wet and muddy to have the speed to clear that. So if it's wet and muddy, then no. You basically ride through this like mud bog, and it would just like put the brakes on right before you had to for your life. So no, I don't. But in the dry, for sure, you could for sure still carry, I think, most of the momentum you needed to. But again, like it's a different era, and there's different riders and there's different skill sets out there now. So the true answer is I don't know if you could recreate it, but I'm also kind of like a anything is possible type of mentality guy. So yeah, for sure it could still happen.
Yeah. I feel like the story from Aaron's chainless run that gets forgotten is he robbed Connor Fearon of his first world, or his only potential World Cup win,
by 0.048. That's one stat that I know pretty well. Matty Dupel, it let me know at the next after party of Val he was not happy about that. We've since become really good friends, but he was not a fan at the time, and especially after some after party beverages.
It's great though. I mean, I feel like you've mentioned how like people will send you that video like 5-8 years later.
Like, have you seen this?
You're like that, like me in the background.
My favorite story of that one is the one from your neighbor, John. Your neighbor asking you if you've ever seen it.
Yeah. One of my neighbors like sent me the video or pulled it up. I can't remember. He's like, dude, have you ever seen this? This guy won. He's like, you race mountain bikes, right? And I was like, yeah, sure, kind of. You ever see this video? This guy, he won this race without a chain. It's like, yeah. See that guy standing right behind him? That was me.
That's too crazy. He probably blew his mind. His like, there's no way.
Oh, dude, I think too. I can't remember if it was like short. It was sometime after that, but that race run, the video of it ended up on Shock Mansion, and Aaron sent it to me, and he's like, "We made it, dude!" Like at the time, that was like the bar. That would be like the equivalent of like Barstool Sports today, I think, if it like ended up on there. It still pops up in my feed every once in a while, and I'm just thankful that the camera cut away before they saw me friggin' chuck a water bottle.
Oh, it's too good. What chain were you guys using? Like a SRAM chain?
It was a SRAM chain. Yeah, we were full SRAM drivetrain those years, and it was dude, it was nothing against SRAM stuff. It was, I did my exact routine. It was just kind of a freak deal, I guess. I put a new chain on at the beginning of every round. Yeah. And I would basically run, I think I changed my technique, and I can't remember when, but I would like put a new chain on at the beginning of the week. So, and then they would run it all through practice, qualify, race on the same chain, because it's all just brand new, like less than 10 runs type of stuff. And then I would keep it on the next round all the way up to like race run, and then put a new one on race run. And I think I put a new chain on for that race run, and then it snapped. But I was like, so then I actually changed my process to I basically eliminated putting a new chain on for race run, and so I just didn't trust it anymore, and so or didn't want to risk anything being different, and so I would just put a new chain on at the beginning of the week and run that chain through the weekend, because it's bedding in, it's wearing in. These are all microscopic, little minute details that we think about, but we would use that same chain all week, and then I would just put a fresh one on at the beginning of practice next week. So I just eliminated that need, or that factor of taking a chain off, putting something new on that hasn't been ridden yet, right for race run. So I kind of took the same mentality towards like my wheel sets as well, where we're kind of getting off on tangent here too, but there are some riders or mechanics and teams that would have like race run only wheels that was like no grease in the bearings or hemp oil and like all this weird witchcraft stuff for like race run, race only wheels. And I just never bought into that. I found more comfort and relief from consistency. So if it was good and rolling fast and the wheel was straight and spoke tension was good and we've been running it all week, then that's the one we're racing on. Like, I'm not going to go put another wheel set in that hasn't been ridden on the track yet. Or sometimes they would, those guys would typically send their rider up on the race set of wheels, like last run of practice or last 2 runs of practice or something like that, so that at least they have like a run or 2 on them and then race them. So I just never got into it. I really just bought into like running a part as long as we possibly could and building the consistency and feeling. So
yeah,
that's
interesting. That's cool to hear about.
Yeah, but after that, it was just a 1 chain per race after that.
Did you go find the chain that broke?
No, that's a whole nother story. I tried because we were at the top, and at the time we didn't have any monitors. Red Bull didn't have the race playing at the top. They do now. They started that quite a few years ago now, but at the time they didn't. So when I left the start hut, Aaron was last to drop. So there's nobody up there. When you first get up to the top of a hill for a race run, it's chaos. There's trainers going off everywhere, and people and media and coaches and riders and mechanics. And like, as the race goes on, it just gets quieter and quieter and quieter before there's like the top 5, and you guys are the only ones there. So I left the start hut, and it was Jason Marshy from Santa Cruz and Doug Tricky. So from Santa Cruz, and they were hovered over Marshy's phone watching the race, and it was like slightly delayed. So they were still watching Connor's run when I walked up, and I was just like, that was it. My job's over, that kind of. And, so they showed me on the phone basically what happened. And so, but anyways, after that, to answer your question, the race was over and he won, and Marshy's freaking out. And he was like, "See, dude, you had nothing to worry about." All this. And then he like literally grabbed me. He's like, "You have to go find the chain." And like, was like, you're right. And we took off. Like him and I went running down the track to like the first or second, third turn or something like that. And like we didn't know where it fell off. We just because it cuts to a camera view and it was there and then it's not.
Mhm.
And so we ran down and checked a little ways, and I was like, dude, I'm not running all the way down the track. My guy just won. Like, I need to get the podium. I don't
Mhm.
need to pass around up here. And I think Marshy might have looked for it a little while afterwards and didn't find it and let me know. He's like, sorry, dude, I looked. Like, he's like, that's a famous chain. Somebody's going to find it.
Mhm.
And the following year, some dude approaches me, and I can't remember if it was at Leogang or if it was at a different race. It might have been Fort William. I can't remember. At a race the following year, some guy came up to me and was like, I have that chain. And I was like, oh, dude, that's so sick. Like, I would love to have that if you don't mind. Like, that'd be great. And I thought he was like, I have the chain. I want to give it to you type of thing. And he's like, yeah, for like $3,000 or like $1,000. I don't remember what it was. I don't want to make a number up. But he basically was like, yo, you could buy it from me for like this ridiculous price. And I just looked at him and I probably told him to F off. I was like, what? No, like it's a broken chain. I'm not paying for that. Like, I don't care. And then I told Martin Wiley that story. I think that night at like team dinner, I was like, dude, some friggin' crazy a-hole tried to get me to buy the broken chain from last year. Martin's eyes lit up. He's like, if you see him, tell him I'll buy it. Like,
No way.
Martin loves the memorabilia and that kind of stuff. So that made sense. Like, Martin really would probably love to have that chain. But yeah, I don't know where it's at. That guy probably still has it at his house somewhere. So if you see it, if you're watching this and you're the guy that has it, reach out to Martin Wiley. I'm sure he'll buy it.
Yeah.
I don't want no
Man.
broken chain. We might have still got the win, but that chain can go in the trash for all I care.
Mhm. Yeah. Like, I'll keep a tire or something else.
And
from that.
that's no knock on SRAM. That's no knock on
Yeah.
SRAM. They are still excellent chains. We continue to run them and never broke another one. So I still run them on all my stuff today.
Yeah. Dang. That's funny. I can't believe some dude tried to make you pay for it. I mean, it makes the story
Tried to sell
better
it.
in a way. Yeah, but what a dick.
Oh man.
Yeah, here's this flat tire, broken part from your race truck. Do you want to buy it? Like, no. Throw that thing in the trash. But I was excited because I thought he was like gifting it to me. I was like, oh wow, thank you. Like, that's so awesome. He's like, yeah, no, for a price. I was like, what? No. And I think he was like taken back by it too. He's like, oh, like what? Like, surprised I didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
And I just turned around and walked away. Like, I didn't even get a chance to like negotiate it. I just said no.
Mhm.
Oh.
You're like, my counter offer is free. I will I will give you no money and you will give me the chain, and that's it.
Yeah. Now, if you want to send it to me for free and you're watching this, then sure, I'll take it. But I ain't paying for it.
I love it. That's a good story.
Yeah, Leogang always getting back to the track. It delivers almost every year. So the times are tight. When it's dry, it's real fast. Speeds are high. Average speeds are high. So we'll be in for a treat regardless this year.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking at the weather before we got on here, and it's going to rain, but it doesn't look like it's going to be an exceptionally wet year at Leogang. So unless it starts raining during finals, I think it'll be part of the course. Pretty normal. Probably get chopped up a bit from practice and make it a good racetrack.
Well, it looks like the majority of teams and riders spent some time in Schladming while it was raining and riding and training in that. So I think everybody will be pretty used to riding and racing in the mud. So that's good that for all those teams that went and put that time in there.
Yeah, everyone's all tuned up, ready for some mud. Injuries. Not a whole lot on the list going into Leogang, which is rad. But our buddy AG, we've been talking about him a bunch today.
Poor guy.
I know, right? I know. Not the.
Well, he's gotten some good and bad.
Yeah, this isn't the context you want to talk about him, but after his long elbow recovery from crashing out Lenzerheide last year, it's come out now that he has mysteriously broken his foot. And I mean, mysteriously not in that he's keeping it a secret. He doesn't quite know what happened.
Yeah, as far as I know, he has no idea what happened either.
Yeah, it's such a bummer.
Like, so we were talking earlier, but yeah, when I saw it on the broadcast, I texted him and I was like, dude, broken foot? Question mark. Like, can my boy get a break, please? Like, can somebody come on? Like, his dang elbow injury's been nagging him and taking forever. Which, speaking of moto earlier, Christian Craig too has like a elbow that he's been dealing with. So it's a injury that can take a long time. But yeah, and then he said I have no idea. Dude, I just woke up with it. I'm a broken foot. So something happened somewhere, but he's not sure where or how.
Jeez. Did he say if it's gonna? Is that like if he has been waiting to get back from his elbow and he had X date? Is this going to extend that date out, or it sounds like it's yeah?
I pretty much just rolled straight into making fun of him for being old and getting hurt in his sleep.
Fair, fitting. Yeah, you know.
I don't dig much deeper than that. I just start throwing jabs.
Well, I mean, shit. Speaking of elbows, Nina Hoffman, kind of mysteriously, also because there's no real story as to what happened. It wasn't from a riding incident, but she dislocated her elbow. Sounds like the Sunday after Poland, and it kind of confused me because in my mind, like your elbow, there's so much happening, and a dislocation always disrupts so much, no matter what the joint really is. But she's posted on her Instagram that she'll maybe be back racing this weekend. She's been doing like a ton of rehab and stuff, but it looks bleak, unfortunately.
It looks pretty bad, and I think she's in a championship hunt. She's got the champion mindset, so for sure she's going to give it a shot. I would venture to guess that she's going to roll down or ride, like give it a shot and just see what it feels like, and make a decision at that point. So I have like you said, dude, it's only been a couple weeks. Like that's a big disruption no matter what joint. If you dislocate a pinky, like it's going to be difficult to hold on. So an elbow and like that riding position and be able to take those impacts, like it's going to be difficult. So we'll see, but I'm not overly optimistic that she'll be able to race.
Yeah. And then Val d'Isol's the following weekend. So it's just back to back, you know, like there isn't a whole lot of, and Leger follows up pretty quick after that. Then there's a big break for most of summer, but it's not a great time to have an injury begin.
Yeah. And that's always a bummer, man, when it happens outside of riding and maybe sounds like goofing off and stuff, which is like, you don't want to live a boring life and be like, oh, I can't ever have fun. So certainly don't blame her for that whatsoever. But those things happen. And when they do, it's just like, gosh, dang it. Like, I wish I could have said I was trying to front flip a hardline gap, but I slipped off a curb.
Yeah. I was maxing my bench press, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. I think other than that, there's not too many people on my radar that aren't going to be there. You mentioned your dude's back.
Yeah, well, Miriam Nicole as well. So we'll see. I know she's still battling kind of a thumb injury, so we got to keep that in mind. She raced Poland, but failed to qualify for finals. So we'll see. Those are thumb injuries are gnarly, dude. It's AG's had one of those too, where he hurt it at Fort William, and it was a long time before you could actually like that opposable thumb is pretty important for your grip strength and being able to hold on. So when you damage that or have to have surgery there, it's a difficult recovery. And then David Trummer, I don't have confirmation that he's racing Leogang, but I saw on his Instagram that he's been riding the downhill bike and he's back on after his preseason injury where he broke 4 ribs, punctured lung, and a broken scapula. So even if he is back, I would expect him to be easing into it and putting in his maximum effort that he can, but not taking any unnecessary risk and re-injuring anything to really make sure, if I were to guess. So be cool to see him out there, though. Especially that's a home race for him as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's pretty important to him to be racing and put that time in there.
Definitely. I have miscellaneous fantasy things to give people shout outs because I told people I would for our B Practice League. So shout out to a Cumbo who's currently sitting first in our league. Proud to say I've gone up from 222nd the overall to 132nd, which
Dang.
I don't know if anyone's noticed on site, but it tells you what place you're in. It's
Where
quite.
am I?
Dude,
I don't know. You got to like leave a comment somewhere.
I've gone from the 2000s to 1258th.
It's a good feeling.
Yep, did pretty good at
It's low climb.
Poland, but I will say the majority of my guys kind of crapped the bed. They
Yeah, I mean, our boy Dakota going down in Poland really screwed a lot of people.
Yep.
I can't really hold against him too much.
Dakota, Lockie,
Mm.
Henry
Yep.
Kerr, Ollie Davis, and I think I had Dylan Maples and Dooley. It's like
There were a lot. Reese not winning. We'll get there. It's been good though. Everybody, there's been some lack, I would say, about being able to make picks after or qualifying in semifinals. But I think as this is proving, you can have all the numbers in front of you. It doesn't mean you can make the right picks every time. So it is very entertaining. I swear I've spent like 2 hours both rounds changing my team throughout the like 3 days that it's open. So
I just wait.
Yeah.
Wait till like there's like a few hours left, and I just spend that back analyzing everything and then making my final picks.
All the tabs.
I don't want to go back and forth and like see some news and be like, crap, now I got to go change it.
Yeah. I've been trying to like make my picks just based on kind of gut feeling and then sort of go from there. But it is tough because like somebody who's really fast nowadays cannot make it into finals in really any of the categories. So that's also a factor.
Or they have a good semifinal or a good qualifying and get into semis, and then just something happens and they don't make it out of semis. Like that's why I hate the semifinals. I hate them. Like, delete them now. Like mid-season, please delete.
That would be awesome. Because it would be you should. It'd be so unlike the UCI to do something like that that it would be great just from that standpoint for them to do something crazy. Yeah, exactly. Admit they're
wrong and say we're going to delete this now. We're not going to.
They wouldn't. I've been saying it the whole time. They're not going to admit they're wrong. They would present a solution to everybody's frustrations.
Well, and here's the thing: talking about what we were talking about earlier, of like we don't know the full story, and if we were to talk to somebody there, we'd probably understand why they can't or they're not deleting it this very minute. And most likely, if I were to guess, that probably has something to do with TV coverage or the package. And contracts were signed saying we are going to deliver this many coverage minutes or race coverage that includes the semifinal. So they probably contractually unable to delete the semis, and they'll most likely renegotiate that and hopefully delete them next year.
I think there's going to be we'll see something new for sure in 25, which is good. I have to give another shout out to What's Up Country for taking the B Practice League win in Poland. And he shot me a message and told me I should make the joke and say it smells like up country. And I kind of made it, but I was like, I don't know if I can actually do that. I went to like write it down this morning and I was like, I don't.
Wait, you said he won the B Practice one?
Yeah.
He did in Poland. I think he's like 5th overall. Second overall. Yep. Yeah. But he's also like top 20. And same with, I think Akumbo is like top 20 in the overall. Which a note on all of that, if you're like, what the heck is a league? Anybody can make a league for fantasy. You can make it private. You can make it public. The B Practice one's public. Anybody can join. Just a way to, you have a group of friends and you guys all tune into racing, make a league, play against each other. It's easier to break it down.
I made one for Intense. So all the employees and everybody here have one. So it's just the Intense Factory Racing.
Sick.
Pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. Let's get into some race predictions, what everybody maybe is really here to listen to. Let's take it from the top. Start with junior women. An overall going into Leogang after the first 2 rounds, we have Heather Wilson in first, Sacha Ernest in second, Aris van Leuven in third, Ellie Holzbosch in fourth, and Tilly Melton in fifth. I think we mentioned it after Fort William, how Heather Wilson wasn't really on our radar going into that race, and an apology for her for that. And then for her to come out and back it up in Poland, she's definitely here for the season and someone who is here to win because, being a UK race to start with, it was like, oh, maybe it's a bit of a home court advantage, but to go to a new track for everybody, new venue for her, and to back it up was pretty cool to see. I still think that the Kiwis are obvious contenders in that category, but it's just rad to have names you can follow at each round now for the junior women. There's a bunch of names to mention, including mostly the ones that are in the top 5 for the overall. A few notes I have written down here. Aris maybe hasn't had the season we all expected her to after winning quite a bit last season. She looks a lot more composed than she did last year, which I think is great. A flat in Fort Bill kind of washes that one out. A few mistakes in Poland. Maybe she didn't deliver what she could have. I think she's going to be really fast in Leogang. She was super fast last year and then had that horrific crash at the top where she front flipped onto the road. I'm curious if she can continue to build momentum and not let the sort of demons of Leogang and last year, how it went, factor into all of that. But I'd place my bets still on her to be someone to win this weekend.
For sure. I don't think we can count her out. And obviously Heather Wilson. I really like putting my money on her. I know her, the mechanic and the team manager, Nick, over there, and he spends a lot of time with data acquisition and really, I believe, is at the forefront of understanding the data that we're collecting. We can all collect as much as we want, but understanding it and reading it's difficult. And I think he's applied that and using Heather there, which is giving her a level of confidence. Apologize if you hear the shipping truck out front. The bikes are going out. But yeah, I think that's where a level of her confidence is coming from. It's at the World Cup level. So many riders are so good from a skills and a technical standpoint that those little edges are what begins to separate them from the rest of the pack. And I think Heather's got that edge with her team support behind her.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, I mean, she's proven it. I mean, I think they had some stats on the broadcast from Poland that she's won every race or most of the races she's done in the last couple of years. So it's not, yes, from a ability standpoint, it's not surprising, but I would agree it is those little things, especially your first year as a junior. You're almost expected to be kind of on your heels, getting used to the intensity, new format, probably new racetrack. So to back up the second round at a place she hasn't been versus Fort William where she has a history was pretty epic to see.
Yeah. Go into that mindset of when you were 16 years old, what you thought about how you handle stress and all that kind of stuff. And you have to remember that with all these juniors and how they react with their results and the consistency in them. So it's I always think about that. I'm like, gosh, they're so young still. And how they handle a win and then carry that confidence and almost how more important confidence is for the juniors.
Yeah.
It can be detrimental to their psyche or their mental approach to things if they're not on the, Johnny on the spot with things. So it's just a testament to the ones that are consistently at the top, like how good of a head on their shoulders they have.
Yeah, and she's won everything except for 2 races since May of 22. So
crazy.
Every race since May of 22 except for 2 races. She got a 2nd and a 4th.
Got our stats guy on hand.
She's been on it. All she does is win.
That's awesome. Well, that's good.
Yeah. I guess if you were to ask her, then maybe it's not expected, from a arrogant standpoint, but she's been up there. Why couldn't she do it at World Cups? And she's proven it.
Yep. Cool to see.
Yep, definitely. It'll be cool to see Sacha, Ernest, and Ellie Holzbosch this weekend as well. They've both been consistent this year, and maybe just it hasn't all come together for race day. Obvious names to keep an eye on as we do qualifying in Leogang. A few other ones, Tilly Melton, 4th and a 6th this season. Been looking really good. Any clips I see of her composure and intensity and her body positioning is super impressive. So it'd be really cool to see her just it seems like maybe she's sort of the other end where, it's tough to get like your junior career going, but she's building, and she's staying up there. So hopefully Leogang pulls through for her as well.
Yep.
Yeah, Kale Cushman is another name I have written down, as well as Tegan Heap. Both riders that had Tegan had a good run going in Poland, and unfortunately had a big slam in that first corner, but showed she had potential in qualifying. And then Cushman with a fifth, first podium. I think it was her second World Cup because she did Fort William. Pretty cool to see. Is that right? I think it's
no, she raced once last year or twice last year, I believe.
Got you.
MSA and snowshoe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're totally right.
I've really got my eye on Tilly and Tegan as like developing. Like I've got my eye on them to watch them continually progress and develop, rather than being like the whole shot star, win everything every round, like type of thing. So we have that with Heather Wilson, I think. And so I always like watching those up and comers who kind of float around a little bit, watching them figure out their racecraft and continually improve and build that consistency and confidence up. So I'm watching those two for those factors.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good race this weekend. I'm loving how the storylines are shaping up in this category in particular, because we haven't maybe always had that in years past. Each year it seems to keep building. There's more names. A little note on fantasy strategy. I think I mentioned this last time, but I think last time I said juniors were capped at 60K, and then I think Spomer made it 85K. So don't quote me on it, but they're going to be worth less than elites. They're not going to be like 225 or 250 like the elite fields are. So they also pay less points. So even though it seems lucrative to grab a bunch, first place is 60 points, which would be 9th in elites, 15th, in elite women, and then 15th in elite men's. So I've been kind of going to like try to pick the winner, or if somebody does really well in qualifying that isn't worth a whole lot, they're usually pretty good bang for your buck. So definitely pay attention to juniors. It's tough because we have quite a few names in both classes that could be up there winning. So, but maybe don't blow the bank on your junior picks. Cool. We'll keep moving on. Junior men, current standings going into Leogang this weekend. Asa Vermette in first, Luke Wayman in second, Daniel Parpet in third, Max Allren in fourth, and Dane Jewett in fifth. So Asa, back-to-back wins, back-to-back times that were incredibly impressive in elites. He's the man to beat this year. It's hard not to think that he'll come out and win in Leogang. I think with his style and the way he rides a bike, he's so efficient and responsive and quick on a bike. It's going to feed right into his ability. So I think everybody's chasing him. He's going to be worth the most. So there's a few other names after qualifying that stand out. It might be worth maybe picking some other names just because Asa is going to be worth the most, as he should be. Anything you guys want to add anything to Asa? It just keeps getting more impressive as we go.
So dominating.
Yeah.
I heard Nico on another podcast say he rode the race run like a veteran, and it's like to have that mental toughness and clarity and approach to things. I'd be curious to listen to his approach from his mouth and how he approaches race runs. Maybe at the end of this year, after a year of racing at the World Cups, to kind of see. I think I have a feeling of what that answer would be, and it's like, and I think it's just he just loves to ride his bike and race, and that's why he's so good. It's been said before, dude. He just loves riding and racing. Nico almost has to tell him to like, don't do so many practice runs, And so it's like, well, why? Like, this is really fun. Like, I'm just going to go do another one. And he's just out there riding. It's not like he's picking apart all the lines and, he's surely watching all of that stuff and developing that skill, but he's also just having fun going fast. And I think that's important to remember for some of those riders out there that get real caught up in the technical side of things. They're set up and tweaking on a click of compression here and a click of rebound there and a PSI or half a PSI on the rear tire and spoke tension and stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like this kid who just loves to go fast just smoked you, So it's like, hey, also remember that you have to have fun going fast. And that is a factor. So I think Asa just has that, and that's difficult to shake from. It's you're not going to rattle his cage, I don't think.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, it's crazy. I would like to do that too. Maybe at the end of this year we'll have to snag him for a podcast and get some more insight on him, because all of like his post race interviews, he's such a like genuine fun kid. Like it's so lighthearted, and I think everybody's kind of like, we want more. Like tell us more,
well, And he doesn't know yet.
Yeah,
there probably isn't much more.
Yeah,
like he's just riding his bike.
He doesn't have that probably like storytelling or interview skill quite yet. He'll get it though, because he's going to get a lot of practice this year. He's going to get a lot of interviews and learn how to kind of open up on camera some. Not that he's not open on camera or anything like that, but it'll be really fun to get more insight into him, as much as he would like to share, at least.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, stoked to see him race again this weekend. It's gonna be good. He's sick on some jumps. I'm sure we'll see some good style out of him in practice.
I'm stoked on, again, we have these top front runners that are, we have to talk about them, and difficult not to throw their name in the hat, but you'll find, I always like finding those bubble riders and trying to pick one that's going to have a breakthrough or a realization or a confidence run. And I think Dane Jewett is that one for me in junior men. I feel like it's just, he's kind of got a veteran feel to him. Had a good result in Poland. I think that ball will keep rolling. And again, confidence. If any of those riders can just get a ball rolling in the confidence field, it'll be cool to see what they can do.
Yep, definitely. I would agree. He's one that I have on my list as well. I also have Milan Falke, because he was second in Poland, and I believe it was the end of last year, he was like really on form. Had like a few podiums back to back, and then it seems like he's sort of getting back in that flow. I think I expect him to be up there and probably be a pretty good pick. Maybe not worth quite as much as some of the other names ahead of him. Both those all-ring wins have been super impressive as well. Like they both have a fourth place on the year, maybe a little hot and cold, but their composure and all like the practice shots and even like their race runs is really impressive. I think they could be also up there. Like a lot of names, definitely a lot of names.
You're going to get that hot and cold in the junior class. Like they're figuring it out. But that's what's so exciting about watching them.
Yep. Mike Hooter was another one. He was ninth in Leogang last year. Somebody that was on a good run in Poland and then went down. He's been in the top 10 otherwise. I think that being a junior, like all we're talking about, like him going back for his second year, I think that could be an advantage. Could definitely plan all that. Hopefully take that speed he had in Poland and not let the crash set him back and kind of keep applying it. It's kind of all the names I got. I think the only other one at the very bottom is that Tyler Waite, who kid from New Zealand that didn't qualify or flatted in Fort William. And then I think he got hurt before Poland, and I don't know what exactly happened.
He's been silent on Instagram.
I thought I heard something somewhere, and I like almost made a mental note of like, oh, that's what happened. And then this morning I was like, am I thinking of somebody else? Like, I don't want to put the incorrect information out there, but yeah, super silent on Instagram. I mean, he was in Europe. I assume he was going to stay for this whole stint and do all these races. And I'm gutted because I really wanted to see like how he was going to ride. Maybe like him versus Asa battles were going to be brewing, it seemed, in the preseason. So give him a shout out, because hopefully he's recovering if that is what happened, if he's out with injury.
Yeah.
All righty. Moving on to elite women. Current standings right now going to Leogang. We have Valley Hall in first, Tawny Seagrave in second, Tammy Belanche in third, Nina Hoffman in fourth, and then Marine Cabarrou in fifth. Really all those names are contenders for the win. I would say, personally, I'm really excited to see Cami. She seems super back on form. She's been kind of getting She got quicker from Fort William to Poland, fastest qualifying, second on the day. I think that she's been so fast there in years past, it's kind of hard not to count her as somebody that might be up there. That's sort of my pick to maybe disrupt Valley, who's been on a tear. Outside of crashing in Poland, I mean, she's been fast. So, yeah.
I'm interested in Tawny. I think she's never a dark horse, but she's coming off of her head injury. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? Just knocking out a podcast.
Oh, cool.
Stay out of
Sorry,
vinyl.
am I
No, you're all good.
Interrupting?
No, all good. Brought the man in here.
What's up?
Yeah, I think Tawny Seagrave is one to watch. She's coming off the head injury. She's been recovering for a while, but I beat this dead horse, but it's confidence, and you're starting to see her confidence and her ability come back. It's always been there, in my opinion, but she obviously was shaken a bit and was questioning a lot of her skills and confidence. But I think we're starting to see that confidence rise back up. And when she's on like that, she's a threat, and she's right there in the overall. Her confidence is rising. She's historically done pretty well at Leogang, if my memory serves me correct, without looking at any result sheets. But yeah, I think she's going to be one to pick for a win.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I would agree for sure.
I think she's also been she's been playing it really smart with her racing and not competing at hardline in Tasmania, not riding hardline last weekend, like kind of just focusing on racing and not these extracurricular things that she was doing in the past. And like she was kind of doing the free ride thing and all of that, but now she seems to be locked in.
Keep it within reason, like, yeah. And it seems, I like how she's playing it safe, but it feels like we're on that verge of her realizing that she can play it safe and be up there. And now with that confidence, she can turn it up just a notch with intensity and maybe push herself where she hasn't been in the last few years to be like, I'm going to like really send it for like this race run. Not that she's not riding so fast, but like,
yeah, I'd almost not say she's not playing it safe. I don't think, I think like what Tanner said, she's playing it smart.
Yeah.
Because we all know, like, once you get on that tape or on the clock, she's going to give it and has been giving it everything she's got for every single race run. She's not holding back. She's not playing it safe. She's just being very smart with her riding and her training and her recovery and doing all that stuff. So, but you mix in that confidence when it starts building up, like we're going to start seeing really good results and potential wins.
Yep. I mean, speaking of confidence, Marin winning in Poland, I think
that was cool to see.
Yeah,
that was super sick to see. And dude, I think she'll same thing. Why not? She has the momentum. She's proved to herself again that she's still a contender for these things and is in the mix in the overall. Especially not knowing what's going to happen with Nina, who's been on the podium the first 2 rounds, like kind of opens the door in the overall perspective. And unfortunately, maybe even at this race, it's hard to say if Nina is really even going to be able to be there on finals day. So
yeah, even if she rides, like it's it's difficult to be fighting up there unless it wasn't as bad as we think it was, and turns out to be great, and she just kind of has to push through some pain. Then we may still see a decent result, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. I think on that one.
Yep, totally. 2 other names on my list is Lou Ferguson and Jess Blewett. They both have been consistent this year with a lot of potential and moments of showing that potential. I mean, Jess with the 4th in Poland. I think they'll both be very good value-rich picks for fantasy, and then I don't see any reason why not they can't like be on the podium this round.
Yeah, agreed. Especially with Lou. Obviously, closer ties with her being on our IFR team. She's been playing with her setup and struggling with the belief in herself and the skills that she has, which is like, I don't care what sport it is in racing, like you're always questioning yourself. And if you're if you have the ability or your skill set or your fitness or whatever it is, I think freaking, I don't know, Mario Andretti probably questioned his driving skills, you know. So I don't think it matters, but she's also starting to build that confidence. She's trusting her setup a lot more. They've done a lot of testing, and they've helped her in that sense. And that weekend at Poland was like that confirmation for her that was like, oh, I can do this. Yes, I belong here. That type of mentality. And I think if she continues down that road, it's the difficult part, right? Because like, yeah, you know, believe in yourself, right? Okay. You know, like it's difficult to actually put into action and truly believe in yourself. And you can have all the people in the world telling you that, but if you don't believe in yourself, it's difficult to convert into results. I think she's on that brink right there of making that happen. And I, along with a lot of other people, very much believe in her. She is for sure, a podium threat. She doesn't believe that. All of us do. I think she's one of those people that should be up there and will be up there once she really gets the ball rolling and clicking. So she'll be a good value. Who's the other one you were saying?
Just blew it. I think
Just
the track will suit her pretty well.
Agree.
Yep, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to have a few riders that maybe the first round wasn't too hot for them, and then Poland went really well, and so they get mixed into the other names in the elite women's field. It's like, okay, Leogang is going to be like a unique sort of reset. Like there's going to be who you sort of expect to be up there, and then the names have been there the whole time, but you're like, they've got some momentum behind them. Let's see what they can do with that.
Yeah.
And then
what about Gracie?
I haven't really had her on my radar too much, to be honest.
No.
She's been building a little bit.
She's had a tough season so far.
Yeah. It seems like that whole Norco camp is just kind of been going through the ringer.
Yeah. I mean, and I would put like Millie Johnset from Canyon sort of in the same boat as Gracie, where there's no reason why I don't think they should be in finals and like doing great, but it's been so hard when like the start of your year doesn't go well to climb back from that. And maybe this week off or the 2 weeks off between the rounds will be beneficial for them. I'm sure they both, I mean, I think Millie was in where were we talking about before? I think she was. I think the whole Canyon crew was there.
I think the whole World Cup was there.
Yeah. Probably true. They should throw the old stopwatch race there.
Yep, exactly. Stopwatch nationals. Yeah, they're in Morzine as well. Everybody goes to Morzine on the breaks.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps them.
I think she got 7th last year, and another year under her belt, and getting faster. So she could potentially be podium threat.
Yeah, I think like watching Canyon's vlogs and then the videos that Norco has put out, and you get to hear from both of those riders, and really most of these riders have some sort of video content coming out. Even riders that aren't doing well, they're trying so hard, and the effort's all there. Sometimes you don't control where those pieces fall, and those are definitely two names that unfortunately aren't quite on the list as much this season as you would expect, for maybe no fault of their own.
Yeah, well, that's the difficult part for doing it for so many years. You spend all this time in the off season as an athlete, training and testing. As a mechanic and team, you're trying to give as much support as possible, get them to as many races as possible, test sessions, team camps, and all this stuff. And you do all this work, and you really don't find out how well you did your work until you show up to the first, 3 rounds, really, and then you'll start to settle in and readjust your expectations. So, and then kind of reset your goals. So I feel like a lot of people are kind of in that position now, but still hungry to start cracking into better results.
Yep. And then there's always Valley Hall on home turf. So
hard not to mention that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
I think she's going to have to deal with different pressure. And it's not her first time doing it. Like, she's well aware, so maybe it's not that big of a deal for her anymore. But it's your quite literally home race. She lives on the other side of the mountain over there. And so grew up riding and racing there. So she has that added pressure of friends and family and everybody there, and world champ and all this stuff, new team and all that kind of thing. So, but she always seems to deliver on it. I think she's pretty comfortable with that pressure at this point.
Yeah. I'd like to see the dynamic of that team because it seems like Ocean and Jack are like homies, but I would like to see how Valley kind of slots into that whole like YT mob team.
I think you'd be surprised. Valley's pretty easy going. I've obviously never been on a team with her or anything like that, but just from being on the circuit and saying hi and in the same work area for so long, they were out here doing their team camp the same time we had our IFR team camp out here, and we all, it should have been another stopwatch national, but we all ended up at
Laguna
doing laps in Laguna together. And so we ended up just literally, like, aside from filming, like, we just made sure we weren't in each other's film shots.
Yeah.
Pretty much just rode Laguna all day, and she's awesome to get along with. So I have no doubt that behind the scenes, the team dynamic is fun and lighthearted.
I mean, it seems like it's working. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, yeah, for her to, get back on a familiar bike, but it is different than what she rode before.
Yeah,
just be the name in elite women's again. Like, it's pretty sweet.
Her team member Sean Ahern is I feel like, again, going back to kind of my bubble riders, like, she's right. Her and Millie Johnson are kind of right there on that breakout bubble. Like, you can see there's something there. Like, they have it in them. They have whatever it is to be either a podium contender or race winner, champion. And they're just trying. They're like plugging different things in, trying to see what works for them. And as they figure it out, their results get better and better. So Sean's another fun one to watch, and somebody that I'm always rooting for as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's rad that in that category we have so many names now, and there's a reason that, like, these women are on elite level teams, right? Just because they're not putting everything together just yet, or we're not maybe mentioning their names quite as much, it doesn't mean that they're not there for a reason. So, because like, there is so many names like that where one of these weekends they'll have a good round, and then the next podcast we do, we're going to be chatting about them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then another one on the injured list. I don't know if she'll be racing this weekend or not, but Frida hurt her ankle in Fort William. But she posted some old clips saying that she hopes to be back riding soon. That was like a week ago. So maybe you might be on track. Otherwise, heal up.
They'll have to ask Dak in the B practice.
I know. Yeah, we will. I know. I feel bad. Usually whenever we do those, Frida's like in the background having to listen to us talk nonsense. But no, we'll pull her in after this weekend and get.
She needs her own podcast just to figure out how she has to deal with Dakota on a daily basis.
Time for an update podcast.
Dad, everyone knows she's actually a genius.
Yeah, sorry, Dakota. She's a unsung hero of Dakota's life.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and she's legit genius. I'm pretty sure. Like, rocket, just actual.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Cool. Keep moving on. Close this thing out with elite men.
Yep.
Give everybody current standings here. Going to Leogang, we got Loic Brunick in first. Rona Dunn moves up to second. Loris Vergier is in third. Lucas Shaw in fourth, and Troy Brosnan in fifth. Man, so many names. I feel like every weekend that's going to be how I kick this thing off, because there's so many potential winners. But I'll start with kind of the obvious, which is Loic. He was second in Leogang last year. He's definitely on form this year. I would say he's the man to beat. He's the dude everybody's sort of looking at to see what he's going to do on the weekend. Maybe without opening too big of a can of worms, but we talked a lot about electronics this year. This seems like a track that the whole middle bit, the whole motorway we've talked a lot about, will definitely be a factor. So it'll be interesting to see. Yes, very. I mean, it's hard to bet against him. I feel like at most rounds this year. especially with Fort William being one that he struggled at for so many years, and he comes out and wins it to kick off the season. So other than that, for me, I mean, really a lot of the names that are in that top 5, it seems like Leogang has been good to or caters to, with Troy, Loris, and Luca, as well as throw Finn in there, Finn Isles.
Finn's on the up. He's on the up and up.
Yep.
Like, he's never been off. He's always been right there, but he's sharp right now. He's a weapon.
Yep, I would agree. I mean, he won semifinals last year. He finished 4th, and then had a great round at Fort William. And then Poland was just not his race weekend to be had. And I think for somebody like him, I don't think that affects his confidence. I think if anything, it just makes him more hungry, because he knows he's there and he's ready to like show up at a place. He knows he's fast and apply that.
Yep. Exactly.
Other than that, kind of like my names in the to watch for a podium is Andy Kolb. Obviously won last year. Probably a lot of confidence coming back to his home race after that win. And then Ronan Dunn, won Poland, just won Red Bull Hardline. He's loose. Like, in my mind, he's maybe not a rider I would expect to do terribly well at Leogang, but I think he's proving me wrong with how his season's going. I mean, he's got the confidence and he's vibing right now.
He's one of those guys I think that gets a little bit misunderstood. Yes, he's loose. Yes, he's wild. When you watch him ride, by appearance, he's guaranteed, if you talk to him, he's very calculated. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's not taking any risk that he doesn't believe he can handle himself. And if you talk to other riders as well that are around him during race runs, some guys get real nervous or quiet. He gets excited. Like, he kind of reminds me of Asa. Like, he gets like amped up, like, let's freaking go. Like, he cannot wait to get in that start hut, and just RPMs are redlining and 6 Red Bulls in probably.
Well, now
that's the other thing.
Unlimited Red Bulls.
Just got his Red Bull helmet, so he doesn't have to buy those anymore. Might be dangerous. Could be a dangerous addiction. But the kid is I've told the story a few times, but it was Leger one year. I think it was world champs, and we had long practice, and it was downpouring in the morning. Nobody wanted to go up yet because it was going to be a slaughterhouse for practice. They kind of wanted to – the rain was clearing. It was quitting. They wanted to let the track dry before they got up for their run, because there was like 6 hours of practice for Worlds or something. And Ronan was first in the gate and came down. I mean, there was riders still in their like joggers and hoodies at the finish line to see how the track was after Ronan came down. So he's on a confidence high right now, dude. He's riding so good. It might look loose and wild, but I guarantee you it's precise. So he's for sure going to be going for a win.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
And Dakota. Like, I mean, we're not going to not talk about Dakota. He's also just putting puzzle pieces in one day at a time. Like, and pretty soon that puzzle is going to come together, and he's going to be really hard to beat, I think.
Mm-hmm. He's fast there. He's had maybe not always been able to put it together. And I think it was him I was looking at maybe even last year, like qualifying semifinals, finals. I think he's always has the fastest split through the middle, that third sector, I think it is, with the motorway. Like, homie can carry some speed once he gets it going. Leogang usually gets right into it, which is good because he sucks at pedaling out of the gate. But he's proved, hey, the times don't lie.
He knows it. Historically, his full split are so slow. And if he can get out of the gate and freaking kick that mule out of the gate and get that horse moving, like, and get up there in that first split, the rest of the track is no problem. He continually and historically builds and builds and builds and builds until he is just cooking at the bottom. And he gains his speed, where I was talking about earlier, where Aaron looks for a lot of speed where he can pump and generate speed. Dakota is a corner guy. He's a corner speed for life guy. Like, exit speed out of a corner is like his number one goal, it seems like. And if the track has a lot of corners and direction changes, it's his advantage. Like, he's just going to smoke everybody in the turns.
Yeah, sneaky.
You want to know how to turn a bicycle and change directions? Like, Aaron Gwin's pretty good at changing directions too. But Dakota, like, dude, his corner speed, like, you want to know how to hit a turn? Watch him.
Yeah.
Ollie Davis and
Lockie.
There, dude. I spent 2 days in the truck with Lockie last year, going from snowshoe to MSA, because he just needed a ride and we had room for him. So I think I actually kicked Aaron and his wife out of the truck. Coincidentally, I didn't mean to, but I said, "Yeah, I'll take Lockie." And then Aaron was like, "Yo, can I hop on with you?" I was like, "Sorry, I have Lockie." I took him. He's like, "Ah, dang it!" But yeah, he's such a good kid and got a good head on his shoulders, and his work ethic is really cool, really good. And it was really cool to find more out about him and kind of his upbringing and how he got into riding and racing, and to see him doing well is really cool. He's fast. He's going to be podium. He's a podium guy for sure. So he just has to put it together. I think that last turn last weekend or Poland kind of caught a few people out in both practice, qualifying, semis, and just happened to get him in the finals. So and Ollie Davis, same thing, dude. He was on one and just made a whoopsie. And if it wasn't for that, would have been up there I think he probably would have been on the podium realistically. So, and Lockie would have been real close too. So those two guys, their values should be high if they're not already, but if it's based off results, then it'll be low and they'll be really good value adds to your fantasy team.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%.
You know, the other kind of wild cards is Phil Atwill and Connor Fearon. I think Connor's heading back over. He wasn't at Poland, but Phil Atwill's done good at Leogang in the past. And then
that is true. Propane positive.
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm really curious about Amory Piron. He's another name that's been fast there. He's won there, and dude, no, and him getting a podium at Poland to me wasn't a surprise, but I think it told me what I thought, in that, like, now that he's back racing, injuries behind him, homie just wants to go out and win races. And, like, sure, he was being cautious, methodical to start the season. He just proved it that he's, like, right in the mix again. Maybe a little bit of surprise, but probably like, cool, I'm there. Let's do this. Like, we're going to Leogang. I know Leogang. It's not a new track. I've done well there. Like, he's going to send it. And I'm excited for that. I love watching him, like, push a race run.
He only has one speed, and it's just this. So yeah, I agree. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to watch him race there again.
Scrolling through kind of final names I got on here. There's a lot of names, so I'm sure we'll forget a few people. But Dylan Maples, consistent this year, 24th and a 23rd. I think he's going to keep building. Another great value to finish pick, I think, for fantasy. Greg Williamson, 2 7ths this season. Dude. So stoked for him. He's always going to be going up.
Dude. Yeah, Greenskeeper Willie.
Man,
he's
something's working.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what he switched up or what he did in the offseason, but that he's making it happen. I'm stoked to see that guy getting the results he deserves.
Yep, 100%. And there's no reason why I don't think he's going to keep it going this weekend.
Agreed.
Who else? Ethan Craig, another one. Like, I think he was super fast this offseason. Maybe the season's been a little bit quieter than we might have expected, but a lot of in interviews or like him talking post race, seems like anybody who's been around him is like, he's fast. Like, he's going to be up there, just hasn't maybe come together. So that's somebody I'm excited to watch. Bernard Kerr, he's been fast in Leogang over the years. And I mean, he's consistent. Like, he's been consistent for so many years, and he wears so many hats, and like just got second at hardline. What's that?
That's the impressive part.
Yeah.
Like, how he can ride so well and find time for training amongst being the team manager of the whole team. And it's like downhill and enduro and coordinating all the logistics for all that. Like, dude, there are teams who hire people to do everything that Bernard does. So he's at the team manager meetings every week at the World Cups. Like straight from the just practice is over, undress, go to a team meeting, back for team dinner, like just, and then still be able to like focus on racing and do as well as he has. It's impressive. So it's for sure somebody to watch there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, where is my notes on him? He's been 14th and 15th this year. So he's still been in the mix. And I think his value will reflect that. Like, he's not going to be the cheapest rider, but after qualies and semis, I think he could be a name that's up there. He just got second at Hardline, which is debatably kind of his race in a lot of ways. Like, he's expected to win there. And I think getting beaten out, he's going to be extra motivated to assert his dominance again. So, I don't know, dude. There's endless names. I don't want this to run on too long. Anybody else that you guys feel like we're skipping over?
No, we kind of we browsed over them quick, but
the big
Loris,
names.
like Loris is a big name that we kind of briefly touched on, and
Totally.
he's like a silent assassin. You don't really hear much of him. He's not super active on social media.
Yep.
But he is just consistent, and like his riding technique is so well. He's so sound in that department. He'll be really fun to watch, and obviously we'll be up there fighting.
And Reese Wilson.
Yeah, cool to see. I just love seeing Reese back riding again. It's the best.
Yeah.
I'll just give a quick shout out to Troy, because he's somebody that I feel like we mentioned Loris. We can't not mention Troy.
Yep.
Those are the names.
So much fun riding his bike too.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's having more fun recently, which is cool to see.
Yeah.
And did I hear he's gonna be a dad?
Gonna be a dad. Yep.
Dang.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Life changing there.
Right.
So congrats to Troy.
Yep. I wrap it up. Are we done? I think that's it.
I think so.
Well, yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. Leogang. I'm stoked. We got another round right away. Battle Souls right after it. We're in the heart of the 24 season. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you guys for joining me on this journey again. We will see everybody after this weekend for our B Practice podcast, and make sure to tune in and play fantasy. Sweet.
Thanks, boys.
See ya.